Hello BookTube. For this Tag Tuesday, I'm first going to be doing the E tag. This is the next installment of the continuing alphabet tags created by Jim of Jim's Books, Reading, and Stuff. E is for Ernest. What is the importance of being Hemingway? Not much, really. I've never seen the appeal of Ernest Hemingway. I think I might have read one short story of his in American Lit 2, and I wasn't terribly impressed. E is for Elephant. What is the biggest book you have read this year? For that, I'm going to go with The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I read it for March of the Mammoths, and also I think I wanted to read a lot of works by women in March, and so Priory of the Orange Tree touched both of those. So it's a chunkster or a mammoth of about 800 odd pages, and it's an epic fantasy in which a young queen and other characters are drawn into a sort of a renewed epic conflict that occurred centuries ago. And it's a terrible novel featuring characters doing stupid things because the plot requires them to do stupid things. So, yeah, didn't care for it at all. E is for English. Who do you consider the greatest English novelist? I think there's a case to be made for Virginia Woolf. I read her novel Mrs. Dalloway for a class in college and really enjoyed it. But I'd also tried her shorter novel Jacob's Room, I think earlier, and didn't quite get on with it, because I think I remember bailing on it. But I also think there's an argument that the greatest English novelist is one of the Victorians, Dickens or George Eliot or William Thackeray. Now, I've never read Thackeray. I think I intended to read one of his novels, but then kind of never got around to it. I tried The Mill on the Floss by George Eliot, and I bailed on it. Charles Dickens, in the D tag I mentioned, I've read 3 of his works, Tale of Two Cities, Christmas Carol, and Bleak House, and quite enjoyed them, but I've also bailed several times on Our Mutual Friend and The Old Curiosity Shop, so I'm not entirely sure if I'm the best judge of who the great English novelist should be, or greatest English novelist should be, because they're almost certainly going to be found in general fiction or literary fiction or whatever form those genres took in the Victorian period, and I don't quite get on with them lately, so E is for Elantris. What is your favorite book or series by Brandon Sanderson? Not a damn one, because I've never gotten into Brandon Sanderson. I've tried The Way of Kings twice and bailed. I've also tried his Steelheart. It's a YA series about evil superhumans, and I bailed on that too. Probably, yeah. So I really haven't gotten into Brandon Sanderson. I do have Mistborn, so maybe I'll get to it eventually, and that might break the logjam for him, or it might just be a sign that Brandon Sanderson really is not for me. E is for experimental. Have you read any experimental books? Not really, I don't think. Except, I mean, I get if you consider like poetic novels, works like say Omeros by Derek Walcott or Autobiography of Red by Anne Carson. I think those maybe could be experimental, but I don't really think so. Although, I mean, you have like with, like say, Absolute Beginners by Colin McInnes, which I think in some ways is rather experimental, but really is kind of a bit more passe now, or not quite as avant-garde as it once was. So I really don't know about that. E is for ebooks. Do you prefer physical books or ebooks? Physical books. Now, for the things that ebooks have going for it is they're more environmentally friendly than physical books because they don't require as many trees to be felled to produce a reading device. Although there are probably toxic elements within e-reader's construction that might be problematic that I'm not entirely aware of. Also, storage capabilities. You could store a library of thousands of books on an ebook, which would take an entire house to fill physically. But I really prefer the feel of physical books. I find them easier to read. E-readers, if I'm reading them for an extended period of time, I will begin to have eye strain. Also, you're more easily distracted with ebooks because they usually will have some form of internet access, and so you could go off on rabbit holes or get distracted one way or another. So, I mean, in the end, I really just prefer physical books. The feel of them, how they read, just all of it. E is for exploration. What is your favorite travel book? I don't think I have one. I haven't really read much in the way of travel literature. Which is, I think, maybe a genre I need to really look into and find some works in. So E is for Elene. If you have grandkids, kids, pets, etc., beginning with the letter E, and you want to show them this is your opportunity. So, as part of many of these prompts, Jim's taken the opportunity to showcase his dog Abby, and in this one also, I'm thinking his granddaughter Elene or Elena. So, I don't have any nieces or nephews. None of the 4 children of the apocalypse, my 2 nieces and 2 nephews, have a name beginning with E. But my mom, the 4 children's Meemaw, her name does begin with an E, Edith. Although I'm not going to show her because I don't have the technical skills to really do that. So I'll just tell you her name's Edith. And I do take care of her. So anyway, E is for elf. What is your favorite fantasy creature? I'm going to go with the Weaver from the Boss Log novels. So the Weaver is this reality warping spider that views the world as sort of a giant never-ending story and art piece, and their actions in the world are dominated by what the Weaver individually thinks makes a better art installation, or like it makes it the web prettier. And the Weaver that appears in Pretty Doe Street Station is a hoot. I love that character. E is for extraterrestrial. What is your favorite book about another world? Or your favorite planet? Real or fictional? Here I'm actually going to go with, I think I'm going to go with Dune by Frank Herbert. Dune is one of the most famous science fiction novels. It's set on the planet Arrakis, which is the source of the spice melange, which has myriad useful properties, largely related to consciousness raising. It essentially allows humans to perform calculations with a speed and clarity that computers have, to a greater extent, as well as also certain other powers that the Bene Gesserit have. It does not allow, it does not itself allow faster than light travel. That's another process, although most adaptations, and I think most fanon, does sort of ascribe the spice melange with also having FTL capabilities. It doesn't. It's really used for navigation, because the computers that would be used for navigation aren't allowed. And so Dune is set in a sprawling galactic universal empire, led by feuding noble houses, of which the most important is the House of Atreides, who rule from the planet Caladan, and they are forced to move to Arrakis to take over the fiefdom there, displacing their enemies, the Harkonnens, who rule Gedi Prime, as a means for the Emperor and Baron Harkonnen, the leader of House Harkonnen, to remove House Atreides. And things do not go well for them at all. It goes well for a few years, but at the end of the day, they both are so overmatched. Anyway, finally, E is for Exodus. What is the most interesting book you have read about an Exodus? This book gave me a bit of trouble, or this question, because I'm not entirely sure if I've ever read many works that featured an Exodus, especially as sort of the main focus. But I think I would go with maybe The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, which, as part of its narrative, features the passing of the elves. The elves are leaving Middle Earth and returning to their to Valinor, to the Undying Lands. As magic leaves Middle Earth, so do they. So I think I would go with that. Another one would be, and this is even further into the backstory than the passing of the elves, would be the harrowing from the Basalag novels of China Medieval. Most notably Pretty Doe Street Station, in which one of the main characters is a Capri. They're human women with scarab beetles for heads. The males are just as scarab beetles, and they have no intelligence. But the harrowing was an event that happened in the Capri's homeland that was so traumatic that it essentially drove the Capri from their homeland to Baslag and to New Crobuzon, and it's so traumatic that they don't remember it. They don't know what it was that drove them from their homeland. So I think one of those two would work for that. So that was the E tag. If you would like to do this tag, Jim's tagged everybody, and so I'm going to tag everybody. So if you would like to do this tag, consider yourselves tagged. So I will be right back with another tag video. So until then, BookTube, thank you and have a great afternoon and stay safe.